them. While we pay to keep our politicians fighting, how do we, the people, rise up and solve the great challenges of our time? We do it by embracing freedom and liberty. There may be no such thing as a free lunch, but this hour is as close as it gets. Welcome to A Free Solution.
Hey, it is Larry Sharp here on A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy to have you here. You want to reach out to me? You can. 585-346-3000. Yep, I am back. I know I was out for a week. I apologize. Some of you know I'm running around New York State trying to get stuff done, doing my best to get people to care. It has been challenging, but I'm here. And now that I'm here, I know you're saying to yourself, wait a minute, Larry, you've been gone for like a week, 2. Don't you have a story for us? I do. You kind of knew I did. Of course you knew that I did. I want you to think about something, if you would. Think about a young woman, young girl, not a woman, a girl, born and raised in Germany. And she's born and raised in Germany in this fictitious scenario I'm coming up with, who is now she's born and raised, and she's born around, I don't know, say 1910, 1915, that era. And as she's raised, she sees World War I happen as a young kid, and she watches her friends and her people she knows in her family go off and fight a war for Germany, and they're going to go win. And obviously they lose that war. She remembers everyone talking about how bad things are. But many of her friends are Germans, or maybe they're from Polish descent. Maybe they're Jewish. They're all different, and they all went off to fight that war, and they all lost. But at that point, she's thinking, wow, my country has been hurt. Things aren't going well for us. I know we can all pull together to make this work, but I don't understand why things are going bad. We weren't losing battles. We weren't losing anything. And then all of a sudden, things are bad. I don't get it. I don't understand. Is that young German girl, at the time girl, is she at this point in time feeling like the Jews are hurting her, or the Poles are bad people, or anything like that? At that point, she's not thinking that. At that point, she's thinking, we're all Germans, and we have to figure out how to get out of this terrible spot after losing World War I. That's what she's thinking at this point. As she gets older, becomes a teen, that. Most of those people who are Poles, or from Polish descent, or Jewish descent, they're thinking the same thing at this point in time. And if you were to go back to that person, that young girl, we'll call her Astrid, you go to Astrid and you would say, hey, I got to tell you something. Like 20 years from now, give or take, you're going to be systematically rounding up your Jewish population and murdering them. She would look at you like you were crazy. No way. What is wrong with you? This is Germany. This would never happen here. That's what she would have told you. 1920, something like that. She'd be like, you're crazy. Never happened here. 1925 even. She said, never going to happen here. No way. She'd think you're nuts. You're going to invade Poland and completely terrorize that country. Nope. No way. Not going to happen. Come on. This is Germany. That would never happen. That's what she would have told you then. In fact, most people who were in Germany, and not even in Germany, would have told you the same thing. Yet 20 years later, that was all true. What happened to her? What happened to those people? Now, of course, the easy answer is they're all terrible Nazis. Well, many of them were. Clearly true, right? History has proven that to be true. Clearly true. My question is, could we have fought them? Right? You said, well, we should have fought them in the streets. We should have fought them. They did. There were street fights in Germany. Yeah, there were street fights in Italy. There were street fights in Spain. Yes, there was a war in Spain, like tanks and planes and bombs, the whole deal. You know what we still got at the end? Nazis. Still happened. Still happened. Are you saying all of those people in Spain, in Italy, in Germany were just bad people? Some clearly were. Clearly. But more importantly, the environment made it to where it seemed okay. To where it seemed okay. And not just that, where it seemed it was the right answer. Well, the German government should have cracked down. It did. Didn't work. The Italian government should have cracked down. It did. Didn't work. The Spaniards went to war. Didn't work. Why would I bring all this up? Why does this story matter to you? Western New Yorker in general, American. Because what happened in Buffalo is an example of this. And maybe I wasn't clear enough in what I was trying to say. Perhaps I wasn't. I was very emotional when I was addressing this. So perhaps I overlooked something or wasn't clear. Is there a neo-Nazi faction in America? 100% yes. Is there a white supremacy faction in New York and America? 100% yes. So how do we stop that? By yelling at white people? That doesn't work. We're fostering it. We're allowing it to happen. Why? Because what is the breeding ground or the recruiting ground for any of these negative ideologies, to include white supremacy, neo-Nazism? And I would even argue it's not nowhere near as important in America right now, but even, fascist Muslims, right? Insert thing here, right? Whatever is the supremacy you want to worry about, it's the same thing. It is unhappy, disenfranchised young men. That's literally the recruiting ground. And when it comes to white supremacy and neo-Nazis, those are going to be young, unhappy white men. Clearly, right? That's white supremacy. Clearly. So if I keep yelling at young white men or calling them names, I'm just making things worse, aren't I? I'm going to push more into that. But Larry, this isn't happening in a vacuum, right? There's got to be some background. Yeah, that's what happened in Germany. The average German, 1910, 1920, whatever, wasn't horribly anti-Semitic. The average German. Obviously, there were anti-Semites. Clearly, there were. But the average wasn't. The average German back then just wanted to pay for bread and food. The average American now just wants to pay for their bread and their food and live their life. The average German thought the same way. But there was a shred of anti-Semitism throughout all of Europe, to include Germany. But all of Europe, there was anti-Semitism that was shredded. And the people who were trying to get the disenfranchised kids into their world took advantage of that anti-Semitism that was throughout all of Europe and expanded it and said, see, the reason why things are bad is because the Jews. That's what they said. And when you can't understand, and as a German in 1920, you can't understand why you've lost the war. You didn't lose the battles. You were winning most battles. You didn't understand. The government was lying to you about how bad things were. You've seen that before, haven't you? So you didn't get it. It made no sense. So when here comes Hitler going, we got backstabbed by these Jewish people. That's the reason. You're unhappy. You're scared. You are disenfranchised. You go, yeah, that makes total sense. I'm in. You're here in America now. You don't understand why things are so bad, why everything's collapsing, why you're unhappy and disenfranchised. And now you get stuck sitting on 4chan for 2 years. You're a disenfranchised kid. And the white supremacist says, yeah, see, All the violence the black people are doing, all the violence the Mexicans are doing. See, that's the reason. And then I sit there and I go, oh, that makes sense. And now I want to be a hero. If I'm Germany in 1925, 1930, I join the army so I can go fight the bad guys. If I'm here in America, I could do that too. Or I strap on my armor and I go shoot people. So I want to be clear. What the bad guys will do is they will take whatever they can, exacerbate it, explain it, and draw unhappy, disenfranchised young men into this. The answer is giving them hope so they don't believe it, giving them hope so they don't want to do it, giving them purpose so they go do something else and they don't buy this ideology. This is what we can do as government. I'm not sure what will be a better answer. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know. I'm happy to hear it. Larry Sharp, A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. Back after the break.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and New York State cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovations should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Oh, those injury attorney ads.
Hurt on your couch? Call 555-OUCH.
It's kind of cute watching that injury attorney buying breakfast for a crash test dummy, but while fun is fun, there's nothing amusing about getting your life back together after a personal injury or a motorcycle accident, or when you need defense for a DWI charge. Christopher Johnson takes your case seriously, and you'll feel like you're his only client because when you meet with him, your case gets 100% of his attention. So instead of cute singing jingles and magic phone numbers,
Fall out of a tree? Call 33333.
write this number down and keep it with you. 585-415-3803. 415-3803. After all, Christopher Johnson knows you're no dummy. Get individual attention and integrity, experience, and expertise. Put the power of one on your legal team. 415-3803. Stay safe, be healthy, drive sober. Christopher Johnson Attorney, personal injury, car or motorcycle accidents, DWI defense.
As a veteran of the United States military, I can finally get the opportunity to enjoy special events, things that we couldn't afford, thanks to VetTix. Every empty seat at a concert, a game, or a play is a missed opportunity to say thanks to a veteran and service member. We could give our veterans a special event where they too can create their own cherished memories. Visit vettix.org. Find out how you can make a difference in a veteran's life.
Only available in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com. Official top quality tees, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting the colorful WYSL logo or the already famous Mount Worstmore line of merch depicting Mount Rushmore style are for worst presidents. Of course, you know who is front and center up on that mountain. WYSL official items make perfect gifts, or they're a great way for you to make a personal statement. Locally produced and sold only in the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
A free solution.
Yes, Larry Sharp back here on A Free Solution. And you might go, but Larry, I thought you are doing like videos and stuff on the Sharp Way. Yeah, I usually am that. But here I'm with you. If you want to check me out there, check out the Sharp Way on all the interwebs things. Or you can just Google Larry Sharp. That also works. All of those work if you want to make that happen. But right now I'm here with you. WYSL, Rochester, New York, 585-346-3000. Before the break, I was talking about this young, fictitious person named Astrid in Germany, growing up in Germany in 1915, 1910, 1920, in that era, and saying that if you had told her then, 20 years from now, you'd be systematically rounding up your Jewish population and murdering them, she'd have thought you were crazy. Well, let me ask you, 20 years ago, right after 9/11, if someone had told you there's going to be a bunch of white guys, young kids, coming out into places like churches and schools and shopping malls and shooting up brown and black people, you would have been like, stop. It's America. What's wrong with you? That's what you would have said. I would have said it too. I think most of us would have said that. You're nuts. What is 1950s? Stop. That's what we'd have said, something like that. And guess what? Happening now. It doesn't just happen. We don't want to fight this by either, as Republicans say, death penalty. And now the Republicans, by the way, are now about hate crimes, because that'll solve it. Just make it a hate crime and then it'll go away. The guy who did it kind of knew it was a hate crime. Like, he typed it out saying it was a hate crime. So Republicans, your death penalty and hate crime thing, kind of not going to help. Democrats will just now ban social media. That'll do it. We'll ban social media. So now you can't show it on social media. That'll stop exactly nothing. Not a thing, but I guess that's a thing now. So they have no answers. But the funny thing is, the weird thing is, before social media, we still had Nazis.
Keith.
Weird. This is an issue. So we have to realize that it's very important that it isn't just punch, fight. It isn't just that. What government can do well. Now, look, you should be having the conversations. You, me, with people, doing the Darrell Davis action, trying to get people to not be racist in any way, to include white supremacists, neo-Nazis, all of the racist things. We should be talking to people to stop that. But what can government do? Government can set up an environment to where the recruiting ground, the breeding ground, is not so ripe. That is what government can do to make it harder for people to go there. They're too busy. I want you out doing stuff. You don't want to go shoot people. You got stuff to do. You got a girlfriend, boyfriend, family, job, whatever. Go to school, doing something. Can't be shooting people. As silly as that sounds, what's that old saying? I'm going to get it wrong. Idle hands is the devil's workshop. Is that about right? I'm sure someone will correct me. Yeah. I'm going to grab a call if I can. I'm going to grab Keith. Keith, how are you, my friend?
Okay, what has always been the saving grace for our country is that we have founding documents that even by divine right guarantee our freedoms. And as our country progressed, it could be summed up in e pluribus unum, out of many peoples from around the world come together. We assimilate and become the American people. Now, what does that mean, the American people? Well, the killer in Buffalo, he did not look upon those people as being his fellow Americans.
Yes.
He did not understand that, in his case, by different skin color and race, he did not look upon them as part of the American people, as maybe hopefully people would have looked upon him as a true American citizen. When you don't get proper assimilation, when you don't bring people together, and this is what I pointedly damn Biden against, he's not bringing people together. He's going into Buffalo and saying this is the result of all white people, when unfortunately this was an isolated, young, admittedly white man who, again, when he saw these African Americans, it did not dawn in his head that these were fellow Americans. He looked upon them as an evil force in our country that had to be dealt with violently. So people have to understand that if we're going forward, if we're going to not have any more Buffaloes, we have to be a united American people, that when we see fellow citizens, we don't relegate them to different groups that whomever, may not identify with.
Yep.
Without me being phony baloney, we really have to embrace each other as fellow humans and hopefully fellow American citizens. And everyone, in closing on my part here, that is not being done. Other countries, when they have people come in, immigrants, they do not really try and incorporate like we do into one American people, and we've got to get back to that.
You are correct. No argument from what you said. And to be forward, to give America some credit when it comes to assimilation, while we're not perfect, we are the best in the world. There's no country better assimilating people than we are. And again, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. We screw up. We're just humans. Absolutely. But your point's a valid one. One of the reasons why we do it so well is because of our founding documents. You're totally correct. That's the reason why we do it so well. So, but I'd go one step a little bit behind. Usually I push forward. I'm actually going to back up a little bit. I would first just make more Americans more apathetic against the other people who are in the country versus right now aggressive. Once we get them to apathetic, and then, okay, look, he's doing his thing, I'm doing my thing. Now we can begin to have more conversations so we can feel better about us all working together. I would make a step in there. And I think government can facilitate communities that will get together, not based upon race, but based upon we're farmers, or we live in a certain area, or we love a baseball team, or we're in the same job, whatever the case may be. Now we start being together. And when you and I, our goal is the same, we're the same tribe. That's how it works. I think that's what we have to do.
Well, in closing, if I may, I disagree with your term of apathy. There's way too much apathy in the country as it is now, and that's because the American people, many of our fellow citizens feel beaten down that they can't speak out, that if they do, they will be doxxed and harassed and even followed home and lose their jobs. We have to bring back that First Amendment, that we have freedom of speech. My closing comment, everyone in the country, in this audience listening, it used to be that maxim that I will defend to the death the other person's right to say something. We don't have that anymore. If you, and I'm going to say it, especially on the left, if they don't like what you say, they will come after you. Who on the left today is going to really defend a conservative right to say anything? If you go on these college campuses, they are losing the First Amendment, freedom of speech. And I'm really asking you, Mr. Sharp, how you would turn that around. We have too much apathy. People have been beaten down. We have to embrace each other and say tolerance. Okay, I may not agree with you, but I will be tolerant of you to an extent that I will at least let you speak and not dox you and hurt you in any way. And it's the left, sir, that's killing us in that regard.
Well, it's a good point. Perhaps apathy may not have been the best word for me to use, because I think you're right. We don't want people to not care. My point was, and I did not do a good job of it, so let me try to clarify. It was apathy on you saying the thing that I think is bad, right? So if you're saying the thing I don't like, right now your point's valid. I'm coming after you. Now I'm trying to shut you down. I'm trying to get rid of you. The government wants to censor social media, right? I would rather you at least go, fine, it's that crazy Larry Sharp guy saying stuff. Oh, it's that Keith guy saying stuff. Let him say his stuff. That's what I was trying to get at. I see your point. I may have not been very articulate in what I was trying to say. Is that clear?
Without putting myself on a pedestal, I am a hard, fast conservative. But if you were speaking and I happen to be in the area where you, Mr. Sharp, libertarian, I would come to your aid and assistance physically if people try to keep you from speaking. I would do that for you, a libertarian.
I appreciate that, my friend, and I would do the same for you. Thank you so much for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. So let me know here. Is Keith right? Got some points? No? Was I right? We got some points. Let me know. Larry Sharp here on Our Free Solution. 585-346-3000. Back with your phone calls, and I'll get in the chat your comments after the break.
Okay, we're going to have another caller after the break. Elvis from New York City. You're welcome.
Celebrating 35 years.
WYSL.
AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, and FM 95.5 Spencerport.
Here's the latest forecast from the News 10 NBC Weather Center for tonight. We'll see clearing skies out there, a little chill in the air. We'll drop into the upper 30s, low 40s out there. The breeze will subside, but just enough of a breeze out there. Not looking for much in the way of any frost to be concerned about. Wednesday, fair weather, cool again, low 60s. Thursday, morning showers, warm front moves through. Temperature near 70, gets well into the 80s on Friday. I'm Rich Cadelia, WYSL.
Here on the WYSL stations, you never know who's going to stop by in the war room with Jim Quinn.
Thank you very much.
Should I address you as Mr. President or Your Highness the MAGA King or President MAGA
I like
King?
the MAGA King. Yeah, the great MAGA King. He said that's going to be very destructive. And I said, but I like it so much.
On the WYSL stations, our leading talk radio hosts get the great leaders and legends to inform and inspire.
Remember, I used to say 2-3 years ago, I said, next will be George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Lincoln. They wanted that out.
President Trump Live with Quinn in the War Room. Glenn Beck, Josh Reed, Dan Bongino, Dana Lash, Senator Joe Robach, Colonel Paul Simonelli, Larry Sharp. It's not just the content of our character, it's the character of our content. Local, state, national, the world. Hear the leaders and legends on your leading talk radio station.
WYSL.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to SimpleTech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that SimpleTech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at SimpleTech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at SimpleTech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. SimpleTech Innovations.
Bratwurst, Bauernwurst, Kartoffelsalat, Sauerkraut, Leberkäse, Kirsche, Torte. Fellow veterans, when I was stationed in Germany, time off was spent at local festivals. People were friendly, food was great, and the Hefeweizen waged a continuous battle against my waistline.
The 87th Annual German Festival is Sunday, June 12th.
This is as authentic as you can get. The food, the desserts, and the beer. A German festival run by real Germans. All veterans and current active duty personnel with ID get in for free between 11 and 1,300 hours. This gets you there in time to see the American Legion carry in the colors. Take Route 5 and 20 between Lima and West Bloomfield and follow the signs. Tell them Captain Falk sent you. Prost, Prost, Bundespost. Bratwurst, Bauernwurst, Kartoffelsalat, Sauerkraut, Leberkäse, Kirsche, Torte. Bratwurst, Bauernwurst, Kartoffelsalat, Sauerkraut, Leberkäse, Kirsche, Torte.
Und Bier.
Geneseo Hardware and Rental has all your project needs. They have a large selection of hardware, plumbing, electrical, home goods, lawn and garden, plus much more. Geneseo Hardware offers Valspar paint, Cabot stains, a wide selection of rental items, plus screen and window repair. Get personalized service. Open 7 days a week. Geneseo Hardware and Rental, Route 20A next to Wegmans Plaza. Visit geneseo-rental.com.
Now offering lumber.
From your friends at GCC, claim your Genesee Promise Plus Summer Tuition Scholarship and earn up to 6 SUNY College credits during GCC's summer sessions, which start May 31st. Call 1-866-CALL-GCC for more information or go to genesee.edu/promise and apply today. Your time is now.
Every election law in New York is controlled by two political parties with the highest votes in statewide elections. Due to their new election laws, we need 45,000 New York registered voters' signatures in May to give Larry Sharpe a chance to compete again in the 2022 election for New York governor. Millions of voters want more choices. Download petition forms today at LarrySharpe.com. SHARPE. Meet Larry Sharpe at Nashville's in Henrietta, May 20th, 5 to 8 p.m.
Larry Sharpe for governor.
A free solution.
Yes, I am back. You thought you got rid of me. You didn't. I am here on A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. You might go, Larry, I like this show. Can I watch it more than just Tuesday at 1? Yes, you can. You can listen to it or watch it Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. 1 p.m., either go to our Free Solution Facebook page or YouTube. Either one. You get the cool Kevin Wilson. He's on. The awesome Tim O'Connor. Yeah. And you even get Craig Miles. All the cool people are on. It's amazing. So I want to grab some comments and some calls. I think now, just to remind you, I was talking about Buffalo shooting, handling our youth in New York, handling our unhappy youth in New York, and how they take advantage of our history to make things worse. So I'm going to grab a call if I can. I'm going to grab Elvis from New York City.
Larry, good afternoon. How are you doing? Can you hear me?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Listen, I'm not sure if this is actually on. I found you a couple days ago on the Patrick Bet David show, and it was fantastic. Everything you were saying, I pretty much fell in love with.
Thank you.
I want to preface this. I'm definitely more on the conservative side than I am the liberal side. But when it comes to Republicans and Democrats, I kind of find this as a left wing, right wing, same bird.
Yep.
So I had a situation, and I do love what a lot of libertarians think, but I had this situation about 10 years ago that turned me off with the response that I had from libertarians. So I used to live next to this house, and I'm wondering how you, as a libertarian, would handle this. So I used to live next to this house, and ends up that the landlord ended up renting it to some drug dealers. And what happened was the house turned into a party house. People were out all night. Shady characters were coming in and out all over the place. And as libertarians, I understand that if you're not harming anybody, right, then you should really mind your own business. But at the same time, if seedy characters are coming out and you're raising a family next door, I guess where are your views coming in on like, hey, they aren't necessarily causing the issues because there's no really violence per se, but I guess the company that's going in and out of this house and really what's going on in that house, they ended up getting busted by the police. There was like a huge drug raid and they all got kicked out. How do you as a libertarian handle that situation with regards to neighbors in this situation, I guess?
Yeah, there are several issues here. Issue number one, harm isn't only just I walk up and shove you, right? That is obviously harm, but there are other things that are also harm. For an example, in larger cities, if I have a very large building and I don't take care of that building and it collapses, thousands of people die. So that's a threat. So should a government or some agency ensure a building doesn't fall down? Of course, that's totally libertarian, because while that may not be direct damage until it falls, that threat is still a threat, right? I shouldn't be able to shove a gun in your face. You can't go, well, you didn't pull the trigger, so it's okay. No, that's a threat. So libertarians, of course, are against any type of threat or harm. It doesn't have to be violence. The question is, how do you judge what that harm is? If you have literally bad people next to you who are showing you that they are somehow threatening or hurting you, of course police or some other agency should step in. Of course, no doubt. It isn't that, well, they're doing what they want. If they're doing what they want and not threatening you and not harming you, that's true. But if you're feeling threatened or harmed, of course someone should step in. But in a more libertarian state in general, what they're doing would have been legalized. There wouldn't be a black market. If there's no black market, then there's no crime element, right? That goes away. And the example I'd give you is, what if you had, say, sadly, an alcoholic next door? Now, while that alcoholic might be loud sometimes, which should be a noise pollution issue that local people would take care of, right? Through either police or through their local communities, whatever it would do. But there wouldn't be a criminal element. He'd go to the liquor store, buy his booze, get hammered every night, and that would be that. So in a libertarian world, or more libertarian world, there wouldn't be a criminal element. That wouldn't exist. He would just go to his dealer, smoke his weed or whatever he's doing, and fall asleep at night, and you wouldn't care. So, but if he was doing something, of course we'd step in. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. That was great. Before I let you go, before I hang up, are you doing any type of fundraisers, showings, anything in New York City soon?
I will be, but you have to go to my website, larrysharp.com, to know when that is. I just show up and say stuff. My team does everything.
Sounds good. I'll do that. Thanks, Larry. Have a great day.
Thank you, my friend. Have a good one. So I hope that answered other people's questions. Libertarians aren't about let everybody do whatever they want. It's let everybody do what they want while you're not harming others, right? And rules will be different in the city versus the more rural areas. If you're in a rural area and you can't see your neighbor, why do I care how much noise you make? You're not harming anybody. You can't even see your neighbor. You live in an apartment building? Yeah, there have to be more rules for that because of the element you're in. And people who live in cities understand that. And that's fine. That's the issue. Let me grab a couple comments if I could. Dave says, why are you running around? Trying to get signatures. Yes, indeed. Thank you, Dave. If you want to help me out, larrysharp.com, click that sign a petition, and you can do it yourself. I would appreciate every little bit counts. Ed says, Maj Touré is up in Buffalo teaching firearm safety and personal defense today. Wish he didn't have to. Yes to both of those things, Ed. I'm very happy that Maj Touré is here. For those of you who don't know who Maj Touré is, you can check him out. It's MAJTOURE. He's on all the interweb things. He is a guy out of Philly. He started Black Guns Matter. He's the guy who started that. And he is all about the inner city protecting itself, people of color protecting themselves, a very big pro 2A guy, a friend of mine, love him, does a Solutionary Summit every summer. Please check him out, solutionarylife.com or Maj Touré, MAJTOURE. He will be in Buffalo supporting that community with self-defense tips and firearm tips. If you want to see him, please do that. Thank you, Ed, for bringing that up. Of course. Big fan of Maj. Yes. John says, I'm proud to be a New Yorker. I'm sad to be a New Yorker. I want to stay a New Yorker, but I just want to live my life. And you bring up a very important part, John. The average New Yorker, the average American, doesn't actually care about any of this stuff. They just want to go live their life. They want to go get their job or help their family or go shopping or whatever is the thing they care about. Go hunting, whatever. Watch the game, whatever makes them happy. They don't care about this. But sadly, we're making an environment to where they have to care. And the worst part about all of this that's happening is people are going to pack up and leave even more. Even more. A recent, I think it was Spectrum News, said that from 2020 to 2021, 325,000 New Yorkers left. Think about that. 325,000 New Yorkers left from 2020 to 2021. Wow. Wow. Avi says, the Dems are eating this Buffalo shooting up. A crazed white guy shoots a bunch of black people. It fits their narrative perfectly that white supremacists are a threat to our existence. Queen Hochul already pushing the white supremacy hysteria everywhere and saying every white person is responsible for this attack and is going to ban people from public platforms. Screw her, Hochul, and her ilk. Love that they can't exploit this horror. Well, I want to grab a couple pieces on this one, Avi. By the way, thank you for coming to the event you came to other day. Thank you. I am upset that they do push a narrative without a solution. If you're going to say it's a narrative, there is some truth to the narrative, right? There absolutely are young white people shooting black people. That is a thing. So what can I do? I can go, you know what? Let's blame all white people and yell at them, make every white person feel like a racist, and do that. That is an option. That's what they're doing. I think it's the wrong option. The right option is going, hey, there are people taking advantage of our history of hurting people of color. That is our history. So how do we stop them from picking up this ideology? Why don't we work on that? Let's take our history and not ignore it. And let's take our history and not embrace it and say it's awesome. Let's take our history and learn from it. That is what savvy people do in your own life, Avi. I'm sure you've made mistakes in your life and you go, you know what? I messed up. I should learn from that and not do that anymore or do something differently. We should be doing that. And we're not. We're either going, that's nothing. Or we're saying, well, all white people are racist. Neither of those two is helpful. I think you're right. We should not be punishing people on social media platforms. We should be giving people more of a place to go so they don't want to go to those places because they're going to find them anyway. So Christian says, Larry, two things. One, I'm from Queens, a big fan, and I want to help you make it to Albany, but I'm not sure exactly where to begin, such as with petitioning. Okay, thank you. Two, I got a question about the New York City subway system. Our subway system was once privatized, but our politicians initiating price controls during World War II prevented our subway companies from increasing the fare more than a nickel, and this bankrupted them and they sold them off to the government. What's your review of the subway system? Let me give you two pieces from that. Simple. If you want to help me with petitioning, you can show up at any of the events that you will sometimes see on my website or my Facebook page and sign, or go to larryshop.com, click sign a petition, download a petition, two of them. You sign one, your friend signs another, you swap, and you witness each other. In New York State, you may not witness your own signature. So someone else must witness your signature. Mail them in. The address is right there. Mail them in. That's an easy way of doing it. Or print them out and go get some for your friends. Have your friends sign a couple of them. Love it. As long as they are New York State registered voters, that's all that matters. If they are that, they can go. Now, when it comes to our subway system, first piece, every single time, perfect example of when we're in an emergency situation and we do emergency things, there is always long-term consequences. We saw it with COVID lockdowns. We saw it with World War II. We see it with our healthcare system right now, a whole lot. I will cover how to fix this when we come back from the break. Larry Sharp, a free solution, 585-346-3000, WYSL, Rochester, New York. Back with your calls and the chat after the break.
The WYSL store is now open. With nicer weather, your car needs an official Voice of Liberty bumper sticker. There's a great selection to help you show your love of God, the Constitution, and free and safe schools. Here are just a few available. Shut Up, Fauci, Kathy Hochul, Save America, Support the Second Amendment, Scam Alert, January 6th, God, Please Help Us, Close the Mexican Border, Save America, Stop Voting for Democrats. And there are gas pump stickers reading, Democrats did this. These are standard weather-resistant bumper stickers guaranteed to get you horn honks and thumbs up in traffic. Choose from other locally made WYSL Voice of Liberty merch too, like tees, hoodies, drinkware, and more. Perfect gifts for any Liberty lover. Check out the exclusive WYSL Mount Worstmore shirts, hoodies, and coffee mugs depicting our 4 worst presidents. Guess who's front and center? Shop the WYSL store at WYSL1040.com.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your website. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
There's a place in the village of Avon you and your critters will love. Whether they're big or small, whether they've got hair, fur, or feathers, Avon Feed fits every need. There's a full selection of pet foods, bird feeders, and wild bird food, plus garden tools, quality grass seed, and a great selection of dry shod boots. Buy 10 bags of quality wild bird food, get the next bag free. Choose farm feeds and great equine products from Poland Grains. Find everything for your pet from feeding bowls to toys, leads, collars, beds, crates, and tie-outs. Avon Feed and Supply has what the big pet chain stores will never have: Tim Cole and his great knowledgeable staff. Choose from premium local products like Firefly, dairy, goat soaps, and lotions. While you're at Avon Feed, don't forget your two-legged pets with River at Thousand Island cheese and great flavors, including the new 12-year-old cheddar, plus Chef James bourbon meat sauce, once again nut butters and Nunday mustards. Open weekdays 9 to 6, Saturday 9 to 4. Avon Feed and Supply, West Main Street at the bottom of the hill, just west of the Circle.
A free solution.
It is Larry Sharp here on A Free Solution, WYSL, Rochester, New York. So happy that I have you here for a little bit of your afternoon, trying to be both entertaining, I hope, and hopefully informative, and also something else. I hope we're having a good back and forth. What you will see or notice with me is I'm happy to have a back and forth with real issues. I'm not going to just sit here and give you ideology, left or right. You're wrong because you're left, or you're wrong because you're right. I'm going to try to get us to actually have conversations, because we can't solve the problems if we don't talk. And I'll go back to what Keith said. We've got to look at this like we're all on the same team. And we've got to look at this like we all want the same outcome. And I hope we all do. But we disagree on how to get there. If we can put that together, to Keith's point, that we're going to be different and think differently, but if we all want the same thing, we got a shot at coming up with an actual answer, not just yelling at each other. And that's the issue. So Christian asked about the MTA. I don't think it's realistic to privatize the MTA right now for several reasons. One, New Yorkers wouldn't want it. They'd be against it completely. They can't stand the idea of privatization. So culturally, it's not going to happen. But not just culturally. Who the hell would buy it? It's a disaster. It's a disaster. Only government can run it, because it can run it at a $6 to $8 billion deficit. So absolutely, just nothing but a loss. So the answer is sponsorships and corporate leasing of naming rights to get it going again. Then we can make some next steps. I hope that was clear. So yes. Dave moves on and says, got backstabbed by Jews, foreigners, and rich bankers. Yes, he's talking about the Nazi propaganda of the 1920s. Yes, there were many of the bad guys. And again, if you heard that and you were doing well, and you were 1920s Germany, if you were doing well, they were not. They were devastated. But if you were doing well and, making your money or whatever and living your life, you would have laughed at this. Like, these crazy people, get out of here. But when you're hurting and lost and you're young and you don't know what's going on, it makes sense. You start jumping on board. So yes, absolutely. All right. Let's see if I can keep going down here. I got a bunch more people, and I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I think it's Artiste. Hope I'm saying your name right. Stop calling everything racism, even calling AA conservatives the white face of racism. Fat phobia is racism. Masculinity is racism. Patriarchy is racism. He bumped into me, racism. I was out to get ice cream incognito, and a little old white woman didn't notice me and cut in front of me. Racism. Christianity, racism. Assertiveness, racism, etc. Well, it's a little bit of an exaggeration, Artie, but based on, you're right. The problem is, what is racism compared to something that's racial compared to a racist? You might go, is that a nuance? It is. It's a big nuance that people don't get, because culturally, the second you call something racism, it is assumed you're calling the person racist. Now, a thing can be racist, or there can be some racism in a policy. Happens all the time. One of the most popular ones is the idea of redlining. For those of you who don't know, the federal government literally decided that it would only give certain loans in certain neighborhoods if there was a percentage or less of certain groups Italians, Jews, and Irish, I think, if not mistaken. I think it was under 30%, and or no black people. That was a federal government regulation. Now you might say, wow, that's racist. Yes. Does that mean every banker who decided to give the best loans out was a racist? No. I'm sure there were some, because there are racist, but most are just following the only rules they follow. This was a racist system. There was racism in that specific federal regulation. So you want to call that racist? Yeah. Yes. That was a racist regulation. No question. If you don't think it was, you don't know what the word means. But does that mean every single person who was part of that system was a racist? No. And if you do call them that, then they start fighting you. And then eventually you find over time, and we're having it happen right now, to Artiste, I hope I'm saying your name right, to his point, where now you find people who were just waiting to be called racist. If you go back 20 years, being called a racist was one of the worst things you could possibly be called. Like, oh my God, don't call me that. Oh my God. Now, there are people who just waiting for it to happen. It's, well, okay. I mean, I've been called white supremacist. If you are watching this, you know that's silly. If you're listening, I'm black from New York City. I'm probably not a white supremacist. I mean, probably not. But, I guess I could be. But when that begins to happen, you're right. The word loses its power. So you want to be nuanced and you want to say, is the individual a racist? Clearly the guy who shot those people is a racist. Clearly that's true. Does that mean everybody who was around him or near him was one? No. Are there racist systems? Yes. The war on drugs, clearly racist. Does it mean every person involved is a racist? Of course not. So your point's a valid one. You want to call it when it isn't. You want to differentiate when it should be differentiated. Absolutely. Paula says, happy people don't want to murder people, much less throw their entire life away at 18. Well done. Yes, Paula. People who see no future, who have no hope, are more likely to hurt themselves than others. Yes. You are right, Larry. And the mess that is New York is coming to a state near you soon. America, wake up. Yes. She says, and vote for a sharper future. Very good. I like that. Yes. So let me keep going here. Stephanie says, doubling down on that monopoly with Abbott, I see. Stephanie, I don't know what you're saying. Please respond and let me know what you mean by that. That's not clear for me. I want to be able to answer your question. I do. So, all righty. John says, angry white teams seem to join hate groups. Black and Hispanic teams seem to join gangs. And the native teams are turning to alcohol and drugs. And light teams are committing suicide by the dozens. There's very little community services for these kids, programs, group organizations, and if there are any, too many rules and restrictions placed on them, and they're limited to help they can give. Okay. All of those things you just said are true in general, but the common thing is they're joining something. And it's the thing that's there that will give them purpose.
1 minute.
Find young men who are in trouble. They will search for purpose. Whether that's a good or a bad, does not matter, they will. And those who can't find it will commit suicide. And the programs you talk about are government run. That's why they fail, because there are too many rules. Community can support this. Community should support this. This is very important. Look, people need help. I get it. We need to support communities to make it happen better. We can. If we give our kids more purpose, if we give our kids more community, they won't want to kill the people, and they won't be susceptible to the history that we have to become white supremacists and neo-Nazis. Guys, thank you so much for giving me a chunk of your afternoon. I will see you all next week.